The few classes passes by in a blur, and before I know it, it was time for lunch. You don't need the ES here, I think. The few classes pass by in a blur. Now here I was, walking inside the cafeteria that looked more like a restaurant with my food. It didn't take me long to find Sayori, only she wasn't alone. There was an unfamiliar girl with her. Was she someone she knew outside the club members?
Oh, Holly, there you are. Please sit down with us.
Do I get to invent a new voice? I walked over and took a seat next to Sayori. Hello, the girl on the other side of the table waved back. Is this the same Ray from club meetings? I actually don't know.
Nishikawa Ray, or Rai. One of these two has to be misspelled. It's understandable that you don't know my name.
Also, this would be needed an apostrophe S, because that's possessive. It's
not like we exchanged pleasantries that often when we were in the same class last year.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Nishikawa-san. How long have you been friends with Sayori?
I only started hanging out with her at the beginning, or the binging of the year. Am I correct, Sayori?
Yeah, begin and ing. Sayori excitedly nodded her head.
That is when I'm not dealing with student council duties.
You're part of the student council? I'm sorry, Yower? Apostrophe E. You're.
Yeah, been so for 2 years running.
That's cool.
Thanks. Oh, Hallie, Sayori has been me that you joined her little club yesterday?
Sayori has been me. I don't even know what you're trying to say. Has told me that you...
That really surprised me. I never saw you as a literature type of person.
I can understand the confustion. Don't need this tea. I have been left in the dark on how Hallie really acted before I took control. Well, I wanted to spend more time with Sayori.
Are you sure Sayori was the only reason you joined the club?
Yuki said the same thing, only she was joking. I was about to response to her question. Respond with a D to her question.
Really? Forgive me, Hallie. I went a little too far there.
Actually, isn't it pronounced... Well, wait, no. In club meetings, it was an R-I-E, and it was pronounced Re. With this spelling, would it be Ray? I don't know. Japanese is a language. It's okay.
Hey, Hallie, did you finish your bowl?
Don't need this R. Yeah, I think I did a good job. The rest of our lunchtime was talking about random topics until the bell rang for their final class. Bell rang for their final class. As soon as I stepped into the hallway that leads to the literature club, LED, I was stopped by two unfamiliar girls. There are too many characters, dude.
Hello, handsome.
I hate these girls already. Hello? Is there anything you need?
Of course we do. Why don't you ditch these girls and spend time at our club? Statement, not a question.
I seriously doubt that these girls are even in a club. I know that they want something more than them wanting me to join a club they are not a part of. This is the wrong version of a part. You actually want it to be two words here, and it would be another than here. Sorry, ladies, but I have to get to the literature club. The girls didn't like what they heard. This doesn't sound good.
Hey, Hallie, you coming? The others are waiting.
Monica stood there glaring at the two girls. The girls returned to the look before leaving them alone.
Hallie, you okay?
Yeah, who were those girls? I have been meeting a lot of new people since yesterday. A lot is always two words, never one.
Sakai-san and Takao-san, based on the memories I got from past Monica.
You mean your past?
Anyways, we better get inside.
I couldn't... There's just like some interesting lore implications of how they describe things here. Everyone else has already arrived before me. At least I did my best with my poem.
Welcome back, Hallie. I hope this isn't too overwhelming of a commitment for you.
Not at all, Yuri. Me coming to the club yesterday wasn't a one-time thing. Besides, the only reason he came to the club was because of the cupcakes. And it also doesn't help that he was sharp as a doorknob.
Well, you better not be struggling. A single poem is something that should be fun, not challenging or boring. I believe the word you're looking for is tedious. Whatever!
With that, Natsuki stormed over to the closet in the corner, though I could tell that she wasn't really angry. It all just seemed to be playful banter between her and Yuri. Strange. Before they were completely opposites, with bitter resentment between the two of them. Well, actually, I only really see it in that argument they had whenever they were attracted. Basically, to assume that they hated each other even in Act 1 is kind of a stretch, is what I'm trying to say. They appeared to still have different ideologies and interests, but something seemed to have pushed them to be closer friends this time around. Before I could gather my thoughts, though, Sayori walked up to me and threw her arms around me in a hug. As I staggered under her weight, I couldn't help but notice Monica staring at us from across the room. Ugh. What was that for? I smiled, happy that she was back to her old self after the incident with Nishikawa.
I still can't believe you're here, Allie. Are you excited to share balloons?
Yeah, I guess.
Don't look so down.
Sayori puts on an expression I've never seen before, both in the game and the short time I've been here. It's also kind of a weird one, like they turned up her mouth so much. She looks proud and confident.
I'm sure your balloon will be great, and you should believe that too. Even if it needs work, I refuse to believe that you can't produce better ratings in the future.
Did she get that from somewhere? Still, Sayori, that's really nice of you. Why did she refresh?
Thanks.
With my words of praise, she sat back in her seat. Feeling like our conversation was over, I head over to Natsuki and Yuri. I wonder if that wasn't because, that new sprite of hers was, defined differently. It's not a Sayori sprite, air quotes, as far as the code is concerned. Yuri seems to be lifting a large box down from a higher shelf for Natsuki. So Yuri will be the one helping Natsuki take down her manga? It makes sense. She's the tallest club member to be able to get Natsuki's manga off the top shelf after Monica put it up there. Thank God for that. That would have been pretty awkward. Would have capitalized this T.
Thanks, Yuri.
No worries. The pleasure's all mine.
With those words, Yuri brushed past me and sat down in one of the desks behind me, instantly getting engrossed in the novel that she left lying on it. Hey! Natsuki almost dropped the smaller box that she was carrying, but she caught it with her fingertips just before it slipped from her.
Oh! What do you want?
Calm down, Natsuki. I just came by to say hello. I peered into the box and saw a stack of brightly lit manga covers. I just barely make out the words Parfait Girls before she covers the box with her free hand.
Hey, mind your own business!
I just wanted to take a look at what was inside. I've read a little of Parfait Girls before. Isn't it about baking and drama with magical girls?
What? There's way more to it than that!
To be fair, the game didn't really give much detail. In fact, you made up some details that weren't in the game at all. And if it's like any other magical girl story...
Here!
She shoved the box into my hands and pulled out the top volume.
I'm going to show you that this manga is... show you what this manga is actually about.
That wasn't a typo. I'm making my own now.
Put that down and follow me!
She sits beneath a window and pats the ground next to her, signaling for me to join her. I crouch down beside Natsuki and she hands me the manga. Did we put too many Natsuki words in our poem by mistake? We flip page by page through the first chapter and I see many of the more intricate details about the manga that the game simply glossed over. I'm surprised by how involved Natsuki gets into the story. She laughs at the jokes, gets frustrated at the stupid decisions, and shifts uncomfortably at some of the more mean dialogue between the characters. You mean the meaner dialogue? More mean is not correct phrasing. The one thing that I found interesting is how dark the manga got once the plot started to peak. Okay. Of course it didn't go into DDLC levels of dark. I'm surprised you're sharing this with me, Natsuki.
Well, I can't exactly let you spread lies and inaccurate facts about this story. Plus, try as I might, I can't get Yuri to read this with me.
This could be my chance to figure out what was going on between them. Okay. Can you tell me how you two met each other?
Yes.
You seem like really close friends. She remained silent for a moment.
Maybe later.
We read in silence for another minute. I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, though.
I have to go somewhere after the club today. If you want, you can come with me, and I'll tell you along the way.
Interesting. Nothing like this had ever happened in the game. It might be an opportunity to learn more about Natsuki's and Yuri's pasts. Past, but you want to put the apostrophe between the I and the S. And actually, even though Natsuki Oh wait, no, Natsuki doesn't end with an S. But if a proper name does end with an S, you can put an apostrophe S after it. You only don't need the S after another S if it's like a group or like a plural. It's weird. At the same time, was Sayori really stable enough for me to leave her like that?
I understand if you don't want to.
Well, I had plans to go to the market to find some food. Is that where you're going?
Well, yeah.
I'll have to meet you there. I don't really want Sayori to have to walk home without me.
Fair enough.
We finish up the 3rd chapter and begin on the 4th, though it's not long before we are interrupted.
Okay, everyone.
Eh?
It's time to start sharing poems.
Oh, come on. Could your timing be any worse?
I'll have to agree with Natsuki.
Sorry.
I can't help but feel annoyed. We were just getting to know each other, but then Monica just had to interrupt us. And now that I was here in the game, I realized that this was likely purposeful of her. Her spiteful and selfish attitude kept her from allowing me to find happiness with the other girls, even when it was something as simple as friendship. Do you want me to take this home and finish it by myself? I pointed to the manga volume and Natsuki nodded her head.
Yeah, just so we can start on chapter 5 tomorrow, but bring it back in one piece or else. Normally I don't let people borrow my manga.
I pick up the manga and go over to my backpack and gently slide it into my pocket, being careful not to bend it at all. Like in the game, I started off with Sayori. I guess that's what you did. I don't get to choose. She looks super excited to give me her poem. Oh, it's actually a new poem. Alright, let me grab the bar, make sure I got it.
Little paintbrush. All around me I see a world devoid of color. Each person, each place, each item. They all drip of blacks and whites. But in my home, I have a little paintbrush and cans of paint. I can paint on a canvas and it will be full of color, and it remains tucked away under blank portraits. I want to share my paintbrush so others can paint on a canvas different from mine. The people use the little paintbrush on others. Each person becomes full of color. The colorful people each paint their items. When they finish their painting, the paint spreads without my little paintbrush. The little paintbrush I once owned has traveled all around the world. All my blank canvases remain unpainted, all white except for the one. I hold that little painting for so long, I take it everywhere. I take it in public, and when I went to sleep, I wake up and look at my paint cans. Someone was dipping their fingers into my bucket of paint. With those gentle fingers, they painted on one of my blank canvases. The painting they painted with their fingers was a little paintbrush.
Alright. This isn't the poem she wrote in the game.
Well. What do you think? Doesn't it totally paint a good picture?
Well, it was a very nice poem, Sayori. It's filled with symbolism. I can see that the poem about karma, the paintbrush in this scenario, is simply a good deed. You mean the poem is about karma? When the narrator is at a low point, the karma returns in a form the narrator least expects it, the painting of a paintbrush rather than the paintbrush itself.
Wow, Hallie, that's very good. I can't believe you can just deduce that in an instant. It's almost like you wrote it yourself.
Yeah, because the second way you can take this poem is that it's about Sayori and her depression, and of course Hallie coming back into her life. It is. I need an apostrophe S here. Also, you should probably put an apostrophe for this because cause is just because shortened and you've removed letters. Sayori is kind to everyone, represented by the paint, making people smile. Meanwhile, she has to deal with her blank canvases, or her depression, and Hallie comes in and paints on one of her blank canvases. Here's mine.
Interesting. It's my poem now. You going to bring more? It seems so in-depth and filled with symbolism.
Isn't the last bit what I said?
I finally got to use the word symbolism. It's fun to say. Is this how you view your change in, personality?
You can say that, Sayori. You can keep it once I show it to everyone else.
That was a joke, but go on with your bad self, Hallie.
Thanks, Sayori, I thought instead of saying aloud. She stares at my poem for a while. I can tell that she was having trouble following on what was written on the page. Which makes sense for someone who prefers something more simple. Simpler is also a word you can put there.
Well, it's not terrible. The writing...
Sorry, had to burp.
The writing style sounds outlets like Gary's, though.
Is that so?
All right, Hallie. I'll give you my poem now so you can read it. Just don't stare at me while doing that, got it? I bet you won't like it.
So we wrote a new Sayori poem, but Eagles Can Fly is still here.
Yeah, I told you that you weren't gonna like it.
I like it.
What? Just be honest.
I am. Why are you so convinced that I wouldn't like it?
Well, because everyone thinks that writing has to be all sophisticated and stuff.
And now we're like pure vanilla. What's going on? And Natsuki, you're absolutely right.
I am.
I like when it's easy to read, but it hits you hard. You manage to convey so much in few words. Like in this poem. Good thing I have read the meaning of the poems online. Seeing everyone around you do great things can be really disheartening. But the other nice thing about simple writing is that it puts more weight on the wordplay. Like how you set up for a rhyme at the end, but then made it fall flat on purpose. So you've just stolen all our lines at this point. It helps bring out the feeling in the last line.
Well, good to see you know a pro when you see one. Didn't expect that from the youngest one here, did you?
I simply nodded. Yuri just stares at my poem. A minute passes. More than enough time for her to finish reading my poem. Dan. So what do you think?
Oh, sorry, Sakamoto-san. I should be giving a critique, I guess. I assume this isn't your first time writing poetry. This doesn't feel the work of a first-time writer.
I mean, I have written fan fiction in a few poems before ending up here. Of course, I wrote a few stories here and there. Yuri looks at me with an unreadable expression. Expression? Don't need this T. Or wait, yeah, that's right. I see.
I see.
You like it?
Yeah, it feels like I am reading my own poem. Always capitalize I and I'm.
She hands me her own poem.
It's Ghost Under the Light.
Same as the one in the game. Good. I can see why you think that, Yuri. We both have similar writing style. Anyways, I liked the poem. Even though it's short, it was really descriptive.
It wasn't too short. I usually write longer poems.
Not at all.
I'm really glad you like it. I'll be honest, since it's our first time sharing, I wanted to write something a little more mild. Something easy to digest, I suppose.
I mean, people often express their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences in their work. They usually do more than tell a simple story or paint a picture. In this case, perhaps the subject of the poem is only being symbolically compared to a ghost. Lingering in her last remaining place of comfort, unable to let go of the past. I see we're stealing Yuri's lines as well, instead of be left with nothing. Yuri looks surprised. This needs to be an R. Is something wrong, Yuri?
It's nothing really. Just took the words right out of my mouth, I guess. Yours was impressive too, so...
Nah, don't worry about it.
You think so?
Yeah, of course.
You know, I was really nervous about doing all this, but in the end I enjoyed it.
Me too. I feel like it would be better if they actually called him out on, like, him saying the things they would have said. Now it was finally time to talk with Monica.
Hope you got one of them poems for me, Hallie.
What's with the southern accent? What? It was supposed to be southern? Also, you know I have a poem. You saw me presenting it to the other girls.
I'm just messing with you, Hallie.
When are you not? We hastily shared poems, and the time came to get some answers from her. We need to talk, Monica. Why am I here?
I don't know. But isn't it great? There's so much for...
Monica. I interrupted her before she could get sidetracked. You have to have some idea of what is going on here. She remained silent for a moment.
Fine. Yes, I do. I'll come over to your house tomorrow after the club. We can't talk here.
I didn't really want her to come over, but I saw no alternative. Fine.
Great.
Well, I'd better use the remaining time we have to see what Yuri is up to before the club ends. I found her at her desk, too absorbed in her book to even notice I was near her. I wanted to see what she was reading, but I thought best to announce that I was here first. Pardon me. Hey, Yuri.
Oh, Hallie. You startled me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Is there something you wanted?
Well, I wanted to ask you this yesterday, but it slipped my mind. What books are you into? Or you more into? Technically, I know what she's going to say. I just thought it would be a good conversation starter, knowing her love of books.
Oh, let's see.
Yuri moves the book back onto the desk and looks at it fondly as she glanced at a few words.
My favorite novels are usually ones that create deep and complex fantasy worlds one can only wish to be a part of. The level of creativity, time, and craftsmanship put behind them is amazing to me. And telling a good story in such a world the author has never seen is equally impressive. It truly takes a certain type of person to be able to combine all of these complexities and entertain the reader at the same time.